Gate, our Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Meg.
And today we're talking about episode 37, The First Homunculus.
Yes, in this episode, Hawkeye is shocked when the first homunculus reveals itself. Far away, Ed is surprised by an offer from Kimblee. Fullmetal can have all he has searched for in exchange for becoming a mass murderer. Ooh,
wonder what he's gonna choose.
Yeah, what a proposal.
Yeah, this covers manga chapters 70, The First Homunculus, and 71, In the Grip of the Red Lotus. And if you'll remember, the Red Lotus is, instead of calling Kimblee the Crimson Alchemist, that's what he's called in the manga.
I like that better.
Really?
But I think the Crimson Alchemist probably fits better in their world.
Red Lotus sounds more like an Avatar: The Last Airbender thing, because they had the White Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think I've never watched Legend of Korra, but I think there might be a group called the Red Lotus in Legend of Korra. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway.
Yes, let's jump into it. So the episode opens with the new soldiers that have arrived with Kimblee. They're all like very giant and buff and serious looking, and the brig soldiers are like, they seem very serious and like they're up to something. And Winry, of course, has come to fix Ed's automail, so upgrade it, for the climate. And Ed warns Winry not to trust Kimblee because she's like, oh, he seems so nice. And then we see she has a little flashback of when Kimblee came to get her, and he's like saying all these nice things about her parents.
Yeah, which is strange because he's one of those characters who he's manipulative, but he's not exactly a liar, like a straight up liar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of mad at myself. I can't remember the specifics, but in the manga, we do get to see the scene that where he found Winry's parents dead. And he did mention that in the anime that he was part of the search team that found them. But in the manga, they found Winry's parents, and I think he might have said something along the lines of, even if they weren't dead, we probably would have been ordered to execute them anyway, because they were, treating Emestrians and Ishvalans. But though it is odd for Kimblee to be nice to Winry in this scene, I do think he might have some form of respect for the Rockbells just because they were so determined to stick to their ideals. And he's like said in the past that he admires somebody's determination or like whatever they dedicate their lives to. He doesn't necessarily, he won't spare them, but he might respect them and think they're a worthy opponent. So I think there might be a little bit of truth to what he's saying to Winry. Like there is in everything he says, just a smidgen of truth along with all the manipulation. Yeah,
he has a interesting moral code. It's hard to like figure him out because like, as you said, he says things that like you agree with, but not exactly.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. Anyway, and then after Winry says, oh, he seems so nice, Ed realizes that this is like the first time he's really met Kimblee, and he only knows him based on Hawkeye's description, which, I don't know, I kind of like that he acknowledged that. Like, oh, I only know him based on one person's description of him. Like, I shouldn't judge him.
And I think what came to mind probably was, like, Olivier had said maybe a couple episodes ago, like, I choose to judge a person based on how I see them and how I interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
So he might be taking a cue from her, which is really mature of him, especially since Hawkeye is, like, a very trusted adult for him. So, of course, he'd believe what she would say and be cautious of Kimblee. This part is also cute because Ed is whispering this to Winry, and in the anime he grabs the wrench she's using and like pulls her down to him to whisper in her ear, but in the manga he tugs a strand of her hair to get her to come down to him.
Yeah, it's very cute. And while he's thinking about Hawkeye, he remembers something else that she says, that that he's in love with Winry, and he like totally freaks out, like spinning around in the air, kind of ridiculous. And he like starts reciting the periodic table to distract himself.
Yes. That's classic. I laughed so hard the first time I saw that.
Mhm.
I also like in the manga, like he's saying, find something to distract yourself. Like, what can you think about? Like, ease your mind. What to think about? But in the manga, he also says, calm down. Calm yourself, Edward Elric. Like, he says that to himself.
I love it. And then Winry is like, what the heck just happened? And she's like, can't believe I fell in love with such a weirdo. Which is so funny. She like totally just says that out loud, but Ed does not hear her. He's like, what'd you say?
Yeah, she just kind of says it to herself and she's like, nothing.
Yep. She's like so over it. She's like just accepted her fate.
This is the man I'm going to be saddled with the rest of my life.
Yes. And so Winry finishes up and Buccaneer, he comes in and Winry like completely, of course, freaks out about his automail. And it has like these cool diamond claws on it. And Winry's like, oh, I can make these for you, Ed. And Ed's like, it's not my style, which I disagree with. That's totally something Ed would do, in my opinion. Like,
I don't know. Maybe it's too bulky for
does.
him.
Okay, I agree. Like, from like a
practicality.
Yes, yeah, that was a word. Practicality. Like, no, he wouldn't do it. But like, he's kind of he's got his platform boots and his red cape and not cape.
His coat. Cloak,
his red coat. Yes,
you want to say.
Yes, his red coat, and he's stylish and he's flashy. Like we've seen some of the things that he has made with he's made with alchemy. I don't know. I think he just says that because he's a teenager and he has an attitude about Buccaneer.
Yeah.
And then Buccaneer punches him for having a pretty mechanic, and he's like, "Life's not fair," and I love it. And Winry wants a tour of the northern automail, and so Neil, the redheaded guy with the bandana, takes her to look at it, and it's so cute because Ed's like, "Don't wander too far. Be careful, watching out for her."
Yeah.
And then we see Olivier sending a team down to search for the advanced team that got lost, that never came back in the tunnel. And so they send the team down there, and after they go down, Olivier tells everyone they knew nothing about Raven's death, and she's going to take all the blame for it if it ever is discovered. Which, I don't know. I already love her and respect her, but that just, like, even more.
Yeah.
She's the best. And then we see Roy talking to the woman who was selling flowers, and we hear a bit of Olivier's plan. She wants Roy's Eastern Army for offense, to go up against the Fuhrer and his plot. But she doesn't want to be partners with him. She doesn't care about Roy. She just wants his army. He can get lost. And as the woman who's selling flowers walks away, he's like, "Who are you working for?" And then she like pulls off her hat, and we see the classic hair curl, and she's like, "I work for the Armstrongs.
I've served them for generations."
Yes. And we leave Roy with lots of flowers, and everybody around him is like, who's this weirdo?
I know a certain lady he should give them to.
Yes, I do too. We go back to the tunnel, and the team has found the men who have been almost completely wiped out, along with their horses, except they find 2 survivors who are very freaked out. They keep screaming about keeping the lights out, and the thing is coming for them. And we see the eyes in the shadows, but it chooses not to attack them. We don't see why, but
We can assume
start.
later, given the information we get
Yes,
later on.
yes. It's interesting because so they find two survivors, but in the manga they say that there were more, but they
Oh,
got
yeah. They got separated, right?
yeah, they got separated.
I
And
think
so I think
my
we're left
assumption
to
is they got
assume
picked
that
off.
I think we're left to assume that these are the only two that survived.
Yeah.
And we get to check in on Riza. So happy. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen her.
Yeah.
She has brought documents to the Fuhrer's home late at night, but he is not there. But she runs into Mrs. Bradley and Salim, and something odd happens as Salim approaches behind her. She sees like the hands that we saw in the shadows in the tunnel, but then they like disappear quickly. And it's a very sweet scene, as all scenes are with Salim, because he's just adorable. Um, and he's so proud of his dad and whatever. Sorry. So then he's taken off to bed, and Mrs. Bradley, we learned some very interesting information. That Salim is actually related to the Fuhrer and not Mrs. Bradley, which doesn't make any sense. She also calls him the pride of my life, which may or may not have some
Funny.
significance. Yes. Then we see Hawkeye like walking alone, and she like starts to put things together, like how can Salim be related to the Fuhrer? And she realizes that he also must be a homunculus. And Salim, we again see those eyes and the shadowy hands, and we see Salim like hiding in like a hallway. He starts talking to Hawkeye in a very creepy voice.
Yes.
It's basically confirming that yes, he's the homunculi. And
And
he
you were like,
introduces
no,
yeah,
not
I
the
was
child.
like, how could they do this? And yes, personally, for me, I did not see this coming at all because I was blinded by how adorable he was. I
I
was like,
think
he can't
it's
be evil.
obvious to a lot of other viewers, and like once you get the reveal, it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And why didn't I see it coming before? But I think in my brain, it shut out the idea probably because it was too obvious. Like, I was thinking that Salim and Mrs. Bradley were going to be victims in this grand plot, and
Mm-hmm.
find out later that, oh, the Fuhrer, my husband, my father, he is a homunculus. And, because when you first find out that the Fuhrer has a family, you just end up feeling really bad for them. And so
Mm-hmm.
finding out that Mrs. Bradley's the only normal one in the family is
Yeah,
even
it's
worse.
pretty, it's sad. Yeah, I mean, like, rewatching all the times that, like, all the conversations that Salim had with, like, Ed and Al and everything, like, now those make sense.
And the fact
But,
that he talked directly to the Fuhrer, like we just heard the voice, we didn't see him.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was in the same home.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, he introduced himself as Pride, and he is the first homunculus. I don't know, obviously this whole confrontation is creepy, and like the hands like circle around. It's like a snake, like go around Hawkeye, and like he like cuts her cheek, but he's not gonna kill her, obviously, because she's a hostage. And if she died, everybody would be slaughtered by Mustang.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkeye's a hostage twice over because she was working for the Fuhrer, who is Wrath, and now Pride has, like she figured things out. She knows too much. So the
Mm-hmm.
both of them are going to be controlling her or trying to
Yep.
control her.
Yep. Yeah, so that's like the big reveal for the episode. Ooh. And we go back to Kimblee and Ed. So Kimblee tells Ed that the Fuhrer has 3 jobs for him. He wants him to find Scar, find Marco, who is, as we already know, with Scar, and then carve a blood crest in the north. And Ed is horrified by that, and he asks Kimblee, like, why are you working for these people? Like, they're terrible. And Kimblee's answer is he's just curious to see how the world will change, and he's willing to bet his own life to, like, make that happen and see that happen.
Yeah. And in the manga, he almost made it sound like it was this exciting high stakes event for him. Like life wouldn't be exciting if I didn't have something like this to spice things up almost. But yeah, in the manga, Ed actually accuses Kimblee of being a homunculus at one point, and Kimblee shoots that idea down. And then Ed quips that he can't believe Kimblee passed the psych evaluation to become a state alchemist. And Kimblee retorts that the test is formulaic. As long as you know you're a heretic, you can pretend to be normal and pass it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not crazy. He's just sadistic.
Yep. And Kimblee offers Ed a philosopher's stone in exchange for his help. And Ed's like, I need to discuss this with Al and Winry. So they go to the prison where now Winry is also in prison in the jail.
She's just hanging out with Al. And
I think that was like my assumption too, but it was just kind of funny.
They would lock her up.
Why is she also in prison?
Guilty by association.
Yeah. And Ed tells Winry that she's a hostage, and also tells her about the Philosopher's Stone and how it's made. And Winry is, I don't know, honestly, I feel like she takes it fairly well.
Yeah.
She's just kind of upset about being naive. She's like, can't believe I didn't see this coming. Which, you're a kid. Yeah, how could you? So then Ed tells Kimblee that he wants to find Scar first. That's the first thing he wants to do. And he needs Al with him because Al can't be hurt by Scar's alchemy. Which
is a lie!
Yeah, we know that's not true.
Yeah, but it's a convincing lie because all that Kimblee's seen of Scar's deconstruction alchemy in relations to hurting other people is that it's the bodily deconstruction. And Ed uses that lack of information to kind of twist things like, since Al's not human, Kimblee can't use his body destruction on him, which is a half-truth because Al's body can be destroyed, but using a different kind of deconstruction based on like the metals that Al's armor is made out of.
Yeah.
And I can't believe Kimblee didn't pick up on that because like Scar's destroyed other things besides people.
Yeah, I know. He was just kind of like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
It's like, Al's immune because, I mean, he's a soul in a suit of armor. Why not?
Yeah. Also, maybe
Kimblee knows he's being played. I don't know.
Yeah, he just doesn't care because he's like, they're kids, right? And once Ed and Kimblee leave, Al tells Winry their real plan, that they're not going to use the Philosopher's Stone. They need to find May, to teach them alchemy.
And I love how Ed and Al didn't even need to speak to like know what the plan was. There's a look that they shared, and they even like narrow Al's eyes in the armor, so it's almost like he like changes his expression at Ed to make him like let him know for sure that he knows what he means, which was super cute. And also in the manga, as Al is explaining, the situation and the plan to Winry, he apologizes to Winry because Ed said he wanted to go after Scar in part because he's responsible for her parents' deaths. And he's using it as like I want to get revenge and I want justice. And so Al apologizes to Winry for using, as he says, auntie and uncle's deaths as an excuse to find Scar. I just love how they called them auntie and uncle.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah.
Also, Al is just cinnamon roll.
Pleasantly perfect in every way.
Yes. Ed and Al are leaving the fort and with Kimblee and his men, and they're sitting in the car waiting, and as they're waiting, Winry like jumps in with them, and she says she needs to go along because of Ed's automail, just in case something goes wrong. And Kimblee at first is like, no, you can't come with. But then Ed and Winry like immediately like start bickering, and it just annoys Kimblee, and he's just like, okay, whatever, this is fine.
Yeah, and I love it because after they're done bickering and Kimblee says fine and he leaves, they like look at each other and just stop because they were arguing because they knew it would get Kimblee to just cave. So again, that unspoken, like you just look at each other and know what to do. It's all three of them. It's Ed, Al, and Winry. They have such a strong bond. I also had a note of poor Ed is the middle child who gets the seat in the car.
Yes. Yes, the middle seat in the back is the worst.
The hump, as they call it. Or the bump. Whatever. Well, I don't like saying the hump, but
the smallest, I feel like, at least in my family, the rule was like the smallest person has to sit in the middle.
I usually got it because I'm the middle child between an older brother and a younger sister. But then that was because my younger sister needed a car seat for all of that time. But when she was out of the car seat, we forced her in the middle. And now that we're older, she's the tallest one of all three of us. So it's hit or miss.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That was the end of the episode.
Yeah. We didn't have a whole lot of things, but we did have some tracking. Ed's height. If you paid attention in this episode, he's standing next to Winry. They are the same height now.
Yay!
And that's not including the hair antenna. The top of their head, like the tops of their heads are level. And then I had animation expertise because Ed has new automail. It's lighter and brighter. We both agreed that it looked like the color changed just a bit. There's also more chinks in the armor. It kind of has like layers to it going down. And the arm guard is more intricate. The leg, his automail leg, is thinner, but a shin guard is added to the outside of his pant leg. And in the manga, it's mentioned that's for stability, because Ed was concerned that it wouldn't be as strong when he's fighting.
Yep. I like the upgrades. They look cool.
Yes. Not a whole lot different, but like different enough.
Yes.
And then we also had story elements analysis. And we just already mentioned it, like the friends conniving, coming up with a plan. Ed, Al, and Winry know each other so well that oftentimes they don't even have to speak to each other to be on the same wavelength. And when characters do this, it's a testament to their bond. I always love it in stories.
Yeah. I love their friendship.
All
right. Megan, what was your favorite line of the episode?
Mine came from Ed. Don't freak out. Just think about something else. Try to think about something else. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, element. Ed would be great to sing the periodic table song if you've ever heard that on YouTube.
I don't think I have.
Oh, it's so funny.
Even though I'm a scientist, I don't have the periodic table memorized because
that's fine.
It's not necessary. There's such thing as Google. So scientist's greatest friend.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I technically should know, but I don't just because the internet exists.
Right? There's like too much information to like store in your brain, so you're just like, I'm gonna let Google store some of it for me.
Yep. But anyway, what was your favorite line, Meg?
Mine came from Winry, and I think it was like the last line in the episode where she says, I can't just sit around waiting anymore. She's gotta take action.
Yep.
All right, what did we learn in this episode?
Work hard to keep your promises. Ed and Al promised not to use the stone to get their bodies back, and Winry promised not to cry until she did it out of happiness. And she held her tears in. Which technically isn't healthy, but like, she made a promise.
Yeah. I like that. That was
do it for the boys.
Yeah, it was like a lot of episodes ago, and then we're reminded of their promises. All right, who pushed the story forward?
Kimblee did, for bringing Winry to Briggs and for ordering Ed to move out. Without him, they wouldn't be forced to leave the fort like they are.
Yeah, and I think it was about time.
Yeah.
Although, sad to leave Olivier.
Oh, she's not going anywhere.
Yeah. We might see her again. I don't know. We may or
considered
may
how
not see
she's
her.
heavily featured in the intro song, you can already assume.
Nah, that was it. All right. That was all that we had for this episode. I guess follow us on Instagram at Full Metal Beyond the Gate. If you have any questions or comments or fan art, you can message us or email us at fullmetalbeyondthegate@gmail.com.
And if there's something we've not covered that you want us to talk about, please let us know that as well.
Yes, we'd be happy to talk about it. We will be back next week with another episode.
All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.